When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Monday where we had a bid rejected, or where we have rejected a bid for Nat Phillips. So that's the height of your transfer excitement for today. Besiktas made a bid of $4 million, including add-ons, for Nat Phillips. And apparently, according to James Jimbo Pierce, Liverpool want $8 million for Nat Phillips. Hopefully we'll come to some sort of middle ground in and around the $6 million mark, and Nat can just go and have a career. Just go and play football. He's 27 years of age at this point. Just let the lad go and play football. Today is Virgil van Dijk's 33rd birthday. And it's a pretty short list of central defenders who've been, by far and away, the best in the world at age 33. I would say you could make a strong case for Franco Baresi. That would be 1993. I don't think he was by far and away the best centre-back in the world at the time. I think there was others who were close to him. Manolo Sanchis, Fernando Hierro was developing into a great centre-back at that point. Tony Adams, Paul McGrath probably was number 2 at that point. But Baresi was the best of the best at that point. So he was the only one I could think of, as I tried earlier on, to come up with other centre-backs who were the best in the world at age 33. Virgil is a very unique individual. Now, I know there'll be calls made for Beckenbauer. I don't think there's really a case that by 1978, he was the best defender in the world. I think Passarella had passed him at that point. And he was playing in New York for the Cosmos by 33. So I don't think Beckenbauer has a case. Baresi will be the one, and then Virgil. And Virgil is still, without question, the best central defender in the world. And, you know, it's funny, if you go on social media, particularly Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and you were to listen to Arsenal fans, they would have you believe that Declan Rice and William Saliba are comfortably the best players in the world in their positions, despite the presence of Rodri and Virgil on the planet, both of whom are considerably better than what they're putting forward. But if Mikel Arteta, who manages both, really believed that they were the best in the world in their positions, would he really play a team that has a goalkeeper and then 7 defensive players? Because I don't think he would. Like, Jurgen played Ali, 2 very, very attacking fullbacks, both of whom were better going forward than defensively. Virgil and a centre-back partner, be it Gomez, be it Matip, be it Ibu. And then in midfield, he played Henderson, who wasn't good defensively, but ran a lot. Ginny, who was good defensively, and Fabinho. So you've only really got 4 defensive players in that team, like defense first mindset. And Ginny wasn't defense first mindset until Jurgen got hold of him. Like, he was a 10 or a winger. But Virgil was so good that you could play that way. And yet, Arsenal apparently can't play that way. And you look at what they're going to go into this coming season with. You've got Ben White and Tomiyasu, probably the right back options. If they land Calafiori, him and Jurien Timber as the left back options, then all of those players are natural centre backs, so they'll all be depth centre backs, along with Jakub Kivor, behind Saliba and Gabriel. Like, why do you need so many defensive players in your team? And again, if Declan Rice was the best defensive midfielder in the world, why doesn't he play there every week? Why do you need to play Jorginho? Why do you need to play Thomas Partey if Dec is the best? And if you're playing 4 centre-backs, why can't it just be Rice and 2 attack-minded midfielders? It's a very strange thing. But with Virgil, like, you look at what he's played behind in recent years. And last season, we were basically playing Ali, obviously, or Queeving when Ali was hurt. Virgil plus another centre-back, oftentimes a largely unproven centre-back in Jarrell Quansah. And in front of that, the only player who had a defensive mindset was Endo. Because Trent couldn't be arsed. Ali is a natural 10 who's moved a bit deeper. Dominic is a natural 10 wide player who's was moved deeper as an 8. Robbo couldn't be arsed holding position. He just bombed forward. We basically played with 3 defensive players last year. And I know their defensive record was better than ours. But look how we played. Look at the style of play. If Saliba was half as good as people make him out to be, surely he'd be able to play like that, but he can't. You know, there's been a lot of great centre-backs over the years, but there's never been one that has Virgil's overall package of flawless defensive fundamentals, positional play, reading the game, anticipation. He's a brilliant 1v1 defender. He's the most dominant aerial player you'll find, and he's incredibly quick. And then you add in what he's capable of on the ball. That we just have never seen a centre-back like him. There's been those who've been better on the ball, but they haven't been as good defensively. There's been some that have been better defensively, but they haven't been as good on the ball. There's no one who's been as good defensively and on the ball as him. Nobody. And even if they were, would they come with that same package of physicality, size, dominance, pace? He is one of one. And although people will always say, 33 is looking towards the end of the career, I still think he could play comfortably another 5 seasons at a really high level. Like, Thiago Silva has just left Europe to go back to Brazil. He was never as good as Virgil. Even at his very, very peak, he was never as good as Virgil. And yet, he played in the Premier League till he was 39. And he got exposed at times, but not frequently. And he was still playing well over 30 games a season for Chelsea. One season he played 48 games for them. And he came to the league in 2020 when he was about to turn 36. Virgil's 3 years younger than he was when he arrived at Chelsea, let alone what he is now leaving Chelsea. There's no reason we couldn't have Virgil anchoring our defence for the next 5-6 years. And I think if he's willing to sign shorter contract extensions, like 2 years, about 3 years on the next, and then maybe 2 years after that, I think the club would happily keep him as long as he's still performing. And I know not last season, the season before last, 22-23, Virgil was not good. But he was still better than most. Like, we can only judge him against himself. There's no one else to judge him against. Whereas all these other centre-backs, the biggest praise you can give them is to put their name in a conversation with him. But he can only be judged against his past self. And the level he hit in the 2018-19 season, for my money, is the highest level any centre-back has ever hit in the history of the game. For a single season, I don't think anybody's ever been that good. So he can only ever be judged against that, not against his peers, not against anything else. And it's like he's never going to live up to that because no one else ever has. So when we look at it and say, oh, well, he's not as good. Yeah, fair, obvious. But he's still better than everybody else by a country mile. Another wonderful player who turned 33 this year, but has now unfortunately been forced to retire, is Thiago Alcantara, who is retiring due to injury. What a loss to the game. What an absolutely ludicrous footballer. And I know it's been frustrating that we didn't get to see him play, week in, week out for the entirety of the 4 years. I know that the fact that he didn't play basically for the last 15 months of his time at Liverpool annoyed some people, but we got to see him play 98 times for the club. And at least 75 of them, he was unbelievably good. The reason we came so close to winning the quadruple was him. Because he was ridiculous whenever he played. And our results when him and Fabinho played, I think the first game we lost was the Champions League final. And Thiago wasn't fit, and they were carrying a corpse in midfield. 30 games his first year, then 20, then 39, then 28, one last season. He was told to retire in the summer of 2023. He was told that the chances of him recovering from the hip injury were minuscule. And yet he committed himself every single day to busting his ass to get back on the pitch. And people can cry and be dickheads and say, oh, well, he still took his 220 grand a week. And what? You don't take your wages if you're sick? He didn't give himself the contract. He didn't buy himself. He also didn't choose to use the most talented midfield player on the planet as David Batty and cause the injury. An absolutely ridiculous passer of the ball. As good as we've ever seen at controlling a game of football. More naturally talented than Xavi. More naturally talented than Toni Kroos. More naturally talented than Andrea Pirlo. Absolutely ludicrous how good that boy was. And when you look at the career, comes through at Barcelona, starts to really establish himself in the first team picture in the 10-11 season, becomes a vital squad player then from that point until he leaves in 2013. They've got Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta, all at their peaks. Xavi probably a little bit post-peak. The other two at their peaks. He is the heir to Xavi if he wants to stay. But he knows that he's not going to be an immediate starter because Xavi's still going to play. He leaves, goes to Bayern, starts off brilliantly, gets hurt, and then Pep Guardiola ruins his career. Now, he still went on and had a great career. Don't get me wrong, but Pep altered his career by rushing him back, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and causing him to get re-injured. Then he comes back in 15-16, having missed most of 14-15, played only 13 games. And look, he still misses games, but he plays 42, 41, 39, 42, and 40. And in that last season, he was the best player in the Champions League as Bayern won the Champions League. He's the best player on a team that won everything. And having agreed a contract extension, he decided he wanted a new challenge and he joined Liverpool. And unfortunately, he joined Liverpool at a time when, let's just say, the blueprint that won us a Champions League and a Premier League got set on fire. And things began to change in terms of how we operated. And we left ourselves short going into that season, and it was a disaster because of the injuries to Virgil and Joe Gomez and Joe Matip. But the next season, with them back, we almost won everything. Then last season, we again left ourselves short. 22-23. We again left ourselves short. He was overplayed, he was wrongly used, and he got hurt. And that was it. That was it. The last we got to see of him. Because the 7-minute cameo at Arsenal doesn't really count. But what a ludicrous player. Underused by his national team. Disrespected by Luis Enrique, who's a gobshite. 4 league titles with Barca. 3 of which he was very important for. Actually, no, 2 of which he was very important for. The other 2, he was just, a youngster. Won a Copa del Rey, won a Champions League, won a Super Cup, won a World Club Cup. Went to Bayern, and he won 7 league titles. 4 cups, 2 Super Cups, a Champions League, and a World Club Cup. Then he joins us. He won the FA Cup. He won the League Cup twice. He was at the club when we won it. Give the boy medals. And, we're the letdown in his career, which is very typical of Liverpool. But I don't care what argument you want to make. That lad is as talented a footballer as this club has ever seen. He was so good. He could literally make a ball sing. Could control games without breaking sweat. Could absolutely batter people up and down the pitch. Was incredibly good in the air for someone who is 5'9". He's obviously from really good stock. His dad, if you don't know, is Mazinho, who was part of the Brazil World Cup winning team in 1994. A very good player in his own right, but his son is a much better player than he was. His other son, Rafinha, is about as talented as you'll find, but like Thiago, horrendous luck with injuries. Absolutely horrendous luck with injuries. Worse luck with injuries, to be fair, than Thiago, but an equally talented player. I could sit and watch Thiago play all day. Literally all day. And never get bored. So good. Right, this is Anfield. What do you have for us? It's a shame that he's had to retire. I'd love to see the club offer him a spot on the coaching staff. I really would. Liverpool to hire ex-Man City coach to replace key staff member. So Vitor Matas obviously is gone. He's gone to Salzburg with Linders. But apparently, according to Lewis Steele, Aaron Briggs is set to join as the new elite development coach. James Pearce has confirmed that, said he was pursued by a number of Premier League clubs this season. And seemingly, former Ajax, Everton, and Dutch defender Johnny Heitinga is also one of a number of candidates under consideration to join Arne Slot's coaching team. Interesting. Very, very interesting. He was at West Ham, and then he was at Ajax, I think, in their academy. Or maybe he was at Ajax first and then was at West Ham under Moyes. That could be interesting. That could be very good. Johnny Heiting is quite highly regarded as a coach, and I've seen a few people suggest that they think he's going to be a pretty decent manager someday. 30-man Liverpool squad train on pre-season day 3. Harvey Elliott involved, but still no Mo Salah. Barcelona confident they can now afford the likes of Luis Diaz. I think it's more likely they buy Nico Williams. Curtis Jones makes a positive early impression on Arne Slot. Liverpool's youngest ever player in Europe now coaches at the AXA training centre. I'll come back to that. Adrian has left the club and he has joined Real Betis, so best of luck to him. It's been reported that Jaros is going to step up into the first team squad. Divock Origi forced to train with youth team as Zlatan Ibrahimovic reveals his fate. Yeah, I think that's probably for the best. Why Trent Alexander-Arnold's contract must be a priority for Liverpool is written by Brad Walker. In 1992, a young Scouser at the age of just 17 years, 7 months and 2 days made his European debut for the club, creating a record that still stands to this day, and he now works for the club. Phil Charnock. Interesting. I had no idea that he was back at the club. I vividly remember watching his debut. Came on as a sub. Fair play. Fair play. His name always pops up from time to time. I think that's why I remember. I don't know that I actually remember the game, but I know I saw the game, and I know that it's him that's the youngest appearance maker in European football. But I think it's because it's like a trivia question that always pops up. So I assume that's why I remember rather than actually remembering the game. But I have that vivid memory of that being him. Where are we going next? AnfieldWatch.co.uk. See what Maguire is up to. Liverpool have started work on €25 million deal for surprise Euro 2024 star. I'm going to call bullshit without even reading who it is. There's a piece about Jaros, a piece about Sepp Vandenberg, a piece about Joel Matip struggling to find a club. I don't know that he's struggling to find a club. He's got a torn ACL. I think people are going to clubs are going to want to see him, back fit before they actually sign him. There's a piece about Darwin, a piece about Cody. Yeah, I really don't think we're going to sign Barış Alper Yilmaz. I really don't think we're going to. I've seen, I think, 3 different Turkish players linked with us in the last couple of days. One is him. And look, he's playing really well for the Turkish national team, or he was playing really well. They've gone out now at the Euros, playing in that front line with Arda Güler and Kenan Yilmaz, kind of being the workhorse for the 3 of them. A natural winger playing through the middle at times, playing wide at times, just doing dog work for the team. I've seen Ferdi Kadioglu, the right-footed left-back, linked as well. I've a tough time seeing this move for him. I've seen him linked to Brighton. I think that'll be a good move for him as well. I don't think there's anybody other than Güler and Kenan Yilmaz that we would have any kind of interest in that Turkish squad. I just don't see it. I don't see us moving for anyone other than those two. And neither of them are going to be available. Well, I assume they won't be. Goular's a hell of a player, though, isn't he? Very, very talented boy. Alexis McAllister drops Liverpool future hint as details of 3.9 million property sale revealed. Alexis McAllister looks like he'll be at Liverpool for the long term as details emerge of him purchasing a property from former Reds manager Brendan Rodgers. Rodgers bought the house in the summer of 2022. The fuck is Brendan Rodgers doing it, buying houses in Liverpool in 2022? But obviously bought it to flip it. How much doesn't say how much Brendan paid for it, does it? Oh yeah, Brendan paid 3.95 million. And then put it up for sale for 4.2, reduced it to 4, and then sold it for 3.9. So good enough for Brendan. He lost 500,000 on the deal, and thrilled for him. Oh, it's in Cheshire. It's in Cheshire. Okay, makes more sense now. Although still, why would Brendan buy a house there? He bought, obviously, to sell it. Delighted he lost money. Couldn't happen to a nicer fella. I'll never... No. I will never let it go. AnfieldIndex.com, there is a piece on Aaron Briggs. There is a piece on Cody Gakpo, a piece on Nat Phillips, a piece on Luis Diaz, and a piece on Adrian. And podcast-wise, we have some new pieces up for you. There is a new Buzz podcast, which myself and Trev took a deep dive into the Seattle grunge scene of the early 90s. Just a little bit of a change of pace away from the movies and TV stuff. So check that out. We are doing, obviously, our daily Euros pods, so you can check those out. Today's episode is myself, Carl, and Guy picking our all-time 11s for Spain, France, England, and the Netherlands. So that was fun. We'll have semi-final preview tomorrow, semi-final preview on Wednesday. Then we'll figure something out Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday obviously will be the final. There's a new Monday lunchtime Media Matters pod up. Eddie Gibbs stepping in for Dave Davis, who's away on holiday, and chatting with David Lynch on all things Liverpool FC. So do check those out when you have a chance. And there is an issue with the apps. There is an issue with the podcast loading properly on the different players, Apple, Spotify, whatever. I have no idea what it is or how to resolve it. Guy, Eddie, and Gags are the three people to go to on social media. At Guy Drinkle, at Gibbs Eddie, and at Gags Tandon. They will be able to set you on the right track for how to resolve the issue. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.